Greetings once again, Commanders. I'm Ephraim225, and this is my follow-up to the History of Advance Wars ROM hacking video. I told you history is always a work in progress, right? Well, it turns out that not long after that video came out, more Advance Wars projects started happening, and there are some pretty interesting ones. So this video will cover everything that has come out since last time. First up, I want to give a quick shout out to minor works and translations of games predating Advance Wars 1, on Wars World News, you can find an Advance Wars 2 turn timer patch, like I mentioned, adds a timer to versus mode games. Also available is a language lock patch for Days of Ruin. It makes it so the language of the game is changed to that of whatever region your Nintendo DS is set to. It turns out that every translation of the game is right there on the cartridge, so this patch is probably best used to play in Japanese if you need a way to do that. English translations are available on romhacking.net for every classic Wars game except for the original Game Boy Wars and the special Famitsu edition of Game Boy Wars Turbo. The one for Super Famicom Wars is very good, the one for Famicom Wars is good enough, and the Game Boy Wars translations are okay but change the unit names, so you'll have to adapt to that if you choose to play them. There's been a newer translation of Game Boy Wars 3 with a bunch of other optional modifications. Also, new stuff is happening in Battalion Wars modding, but again, this is an Advance Wars video, but I could make a video on Battalion Wars in the future. It's starting to look very appealing. Next up, I'd like to go over things I kind of glossed over in the previous video. So, I mentioned Igalau 37's Days of Ruin mod, but never put up any footage of it. That's very silly of me, so here is Advance Wars: The Dawn After Ashes, which might sound like a sequel, but it actually contains balance changes, new COs, and a brand new hard campaign to make up for the original's lack of a hard mode. Here in this map, you can see that the Beast is now playable, early missions have been overhauled completely, and you can actually use CO powers as early as Mission 5. Other new playables include Cyrus, Davis, and the Fanatic from Mission 19. Quite excellent. Next up are a couple of Dual Strike mods. The first is one that I briefly mentioned in the previous video but didn't go into detail on due to time, and that I unfortunately did not realize it was even out yet. That is a big oof on my part. This is Advance Wars Royale by Chris Raids. This mod is all about multiplayer as it includes a wide variety of maps from Advance Wars by Web. It also adds some custom COs, namely Sturm, who originally was not included in Dual Strike and makes his return along with some Days of Ruin characters, such as Will and Penny. These also come with modded music, which really surprised me. I wasn't expecting Sturm's theme to be as accurate to the Advance Wars DS sound font as it is here. This is really impressive. There's even a custom tile set, and Chris is still working on this one too. Join his Discord if you want to check it out, and follow whatever he works on. The other Dual Strike mod is also very recent. This is another modification to CO stats. Nothing huge, but worth a mention as there are very few Dual Strike mods. Advance Wars DS Buff Edition basically aims to restore some of the CO abilities that were nerfed or removed in Dual Strike. This is most apparent with Max, who has a movement boost in his CO powers again. Also, Sammy has her transport movement bonus back, and Drake boosts the defense of Navy units as well as offense. Some COs were given additional extra abilities. Andy can repair more HP each turn, and Sasha has a small discount on unit costs, not as big as Colin's of course. Presumably Lash's nerf has been reversed as well. Boy, did the nerf ruin her in this game. Anyways, interesting mod, maybe a bit overshadowed by other stuff. And now the big one. January 2022 started with a bang in Advance Wars modding. Out of almost nowhere, a new campaign mod for Advance Wars 2 came out, titled Advance Wars Story. Very creative. This mod takes place after Advance Wars 2 and focuses on Sonya. She reflects on Lash's words to her in their duel in the original game, and desperate for more combat, Sonya launches an attack on Black Hole to finish them off. Orange Star catches wind of this and decides to shield Black Hole for the time being, feeling Sonya's actions are cruel and unnecessary. Unfortunately, the other countries join in, wanting to get revenge on Black Hole for past transgressions, and the war begins anew from there. This campaign does a lot of interesting stuff with the characters. There's a wide variety of matchups, and you play as every CO at least once. You get to play as Black Hole COs in some missions as well, and there's even one mission where you are in control of the Black Cannon. That thing has caused me a lot of grief, so it's satisfying to actually be able to use it. There are a variety of map objectives too. If you play this campaign, you're sure to find something you haven't seen from Advance Wars quite yet. There's even a few custom units, one of which is a ship that, in my opinion, revolutionizes Navy concepts. Definitely give this one a go. But I can't go an entire video without some self-promotion, so here's an update on Advance Wars Alpha that came out in January. Lots of bugs got figured out and fixed, so the game's a lot more stable. Some of the more generic maps have been fixed. There are now comm towers, some new properties that repair units without letting you build them, and I was able to figure out menu hacking too, so that opens up some new possibilities in the future. Using this, I was able to allow the player to select the custom units for use in custom maps. Yes, I modified the design maps mode. It still needs a little work, but I'm amazed I managed it. But enough self-promotion, let's talk about a modder with a work in progress. Kartal, the maker of Fire Emblem Wars, is working on another mod, and you can follow his progress on his YouTube channel. What I've seen on there so far is very impressive. Lots of custom terrain with custom graphics, as well as entirely new units and new countries. What's especially impressive is that Kartal actually managed to make custom battle animations, something that has never truly been done in Advance Wars modding up until now. I might actually keep animations on when I play this one. In the meantime, I completely missed this one too. Kartal also created a second mini War Room package in December of 2021, much like the one he made a year prior, so that'll be worth checking out as well. Looks like it's got a total overhaul of the final campaign mission. It's probably much harder this time. And for the last mod to feature in this video, we'll be taking a look at something that's been in progress for a while. As you know, I'm doing the coding for an Advance Wars 2 mod featuring COs voted on by the community. So far, 16 COs have been voted in, and 14 of those have been implemented in the ROM. There hasn't been that much talk about the project lately, so I thought I'd introduce the COs that have been so far added to the game. Now, as I'm the one doing the coding, I would like to state that I stuck as close to the original submissions as I possibly could, however some abilities were beyond me to implement. I may be able to code amazing new powers, but some of the submissions called for entirely new game mechanics. So I've done my best, and I hope you enjoy these 14 COs. Let's check them out. First up is Itlog, who was very easy to make and matches his submission exactly. Units above 5 HP trade some of their defense for more attack power, and below 5 HP they do the opposite, trading attack for more defense. His 2 CO powers increase the magnitude of this ability. Next is Tondra. She has more defensive planes, and her fighters can attack ground units. Though I got this to work, the CO powers call for the planes to become outright untargetable. This was harder than I expected, so I settled for having them all become stealthed instead. It works exactly like a sub-diving. Rounding out Orange Star is the robot CO Orwell. The abilities in his submission were seriously complicated, unfortunately, so for now he just has vision-related powers and can reduce enemy vision with his super. We'll probably work out something else for him in the future. For our first Blue Moon CO, we have Gustav, who was also complicated. I had to do a lot of stuff I've never done before just for him. I couldn't figure out how to do his repair ability, but his CO powers worked just like in the submission. In fact, we had to nerf them because we felt they were just too good. Also in Blue Moon are the twins, Zeke and Kaina. That's right, 2 COs in one. Every turn they switch from having a defense boost to having an attack boost, and vice versa. The CO powers will swap and power up these abilities further. This CO should prove interesting if you're playing them as player 4 in a multi-way match. For Green Earth, we have Rickard, who works exactly like his submission except for one thing. I don't know what the creator of this CO intended, but it turns out letting units move the same turn they are built is a really bad idea. I can implement it, but it was deemed too overpowered for the time being. Everything else works, however, as one of the COs in Advance Wars Alpha is highly similar to this. The other Green Earth CO is Alice, created by the artist who did all these sprites. Quick shout out to Gatita Sexy for the amazing sprite work. It's certainly better than anything I could have done. Anyways, Alice was also a complex submission, but I think I worked out something fun for her. She can hide in cities she controls during Fog of War, and her powers allow her infantry to steal the ammo of enemy vehicles. Testers have been getting bugs with her, so I'll keep working on her. So far, there is only one Yellow Comet CO at all, so you guys should probably focus on voting Yellow Comet in the next streams, hint hint hint. For now, we've got Miss Sairu, otherwise known as Missile-chan, who focuses on her indirects and anti-air units. Again, I had to find a compromise as the original submission was difficult to implement, but I'm sure what we have so far is going to be fun to play with. This leaves our current Black Hole COs, starting with Cold Steel. Now, I know you guys didn't vote on this guy. Nobody would vote on this guy. Nobody wanted this. Don't blame me for it, but someone wanted him in, and this incredibly uncreative stats and powers were very easy to make, so whatever, here he is, moving on. Much more interesting is Fulter. This CO is based on the concept of the CO meter being detrimental for you, as when his meter is full, he starts losing power, and his CO powers inflict damage on his own units, so in order to get back to being strong, you're going to have to suffer the short-term consequences. Very interesting take on typical COs. He works almost exactly like his submission, just with some numerical adjustments. Now here we have a very curious submission. Someone went and submitted a Touhou character. I wasn't even sure at first because Jun here comes from one of the least played Touhou games, but whatever. The CO idea was very interesting, as Jun encourages spending lots and lots of money rather than saving money like Colin or Hachi would. In fact, her superpower uses a bit of data that is tracked in Advance Wars 2 but is never displayed: the grand total amount of money spent by the player in one battle. Next up we have Pyre, who is another CO that needs some more work, but she is unique. When her units attack, they spend a bit of fuel to get an attack boost. Her CO power gives her units extra attack power based on the opponent's terrain stars and not her own like Lash would, and her superpower is a simple mass 1 point of damage. Spec, meanwhile, is a CO that I tried very much to get as accurate as possible to the original submission, but it wasn't working out. Spec's gimmick was to always have counter break, but he does half damage during his opponent's turns. I'll try working on it more, but for now he just has more damage with damaged units and counter break as his normal power. However, the super is just amazing as it stealths all of his units, just like when a sub is dived. It looks so cool when the computer uses it. The final CO to talk about is called Worm, and he is not a lot different from Sturm, sporting some differences as well as a graphical effect for his non-meteor super that I'm sure is familiar to anyone who watched that Halloween video from last year. Worm was the direct inspiration for that video, so whoever it was that made Worm, we unfortunately don't have perfect documentation of that info, but you've inspired something pretty cool with your CO, I'd say. So, that covers all of the COs implemented thus far. We also have a collection of Advance Wars by Web maps inserted, so those are playable as well, and you can look forward to 2 more COs and however many more the viewers get to vote on. And that will complete this ROM hacking documentation. Thanks for watching, and look forward to Reboot Camp, and maybe more ROM hackers will show up. I'm certainly hoping for that. Later, everybody.